Okay, now we're ready to talk about what would happen if you had a tariff. Let's begin with our supply and our demand and our surpluses and a domestic price of 50. If we were to allow imports to occur and the world price was at 30, for example, we remember that our new supply curve would be a kink. It would look like this. The local suppliers would produce the first 3 units, and then the world suppliers would produce the next 4 units, and we'd end up selling 7 units total in our market. Now, let's assume that, remember, the new consumer surplus represents this whole area here. Now, if the local producers would like to try to get back some of that surplus, one way that they could do it is they could establish a tariff. Now, in this case, let's assume that they were able to get the government to impose a tariff or a tax on these imports of 10 reals. That would basically shift the supply curve up by 10 along all these points, and the tariff would be represented, actually the new price now would be 40, and the new equilibrium would now be at this point. The tariff, or excuse me, the producer surplus, notice that they're able to gain the sales from a higher price. They can shift some of that consumer surplus back to the producer surplus side. But note what happens in this area here. This here actually represents the tariff, because now we just have two sales. Remember, our total is 6. See where the blue dot intersects the price at 40. That tells us that we're only going to have 6 units that are going to get sold. 2 of them will be provided by the international market or the importers. The first 4 will be provided by the domestic market. This area here, this green area, represents the tariff area. Now, these 2 little boxes here represent the deadweight loss. And what the deadweight loss is in this case is between 3 and 4. That triangle represents the deadweight loss, where you have a domestic producer producing the item, but a foreign producer could have produced it cheaper, so you essentially have a waste there. The other side, between 6 and 7, that triangle represents the triangle of deadweight loss, due to the fact that you've lost one of the buyers now. They would have been willing to pay the 30 real price, but because of the tariff pushing the price up to 40, they're no longer in the market. So you lose those 2 areas to deadweight loss. So when we label each one of these, this is a little more complicated, so watch this. You have A, and then B, C, D, E, F, and G. In the before situation, the sellers had the whole area of A, B, C, D, E, and F, and the producers only had G. Now, with the new tariff, the sellers, or the buyers, that just have area A and B, they've lost C to the producers. D was lost to deadweight loss. E actually represents the tariff, or the tax on the imports that the government receives. And F is also deadweight loss. In conclusion, we can note here that the consumers have lost. The producers win C. The government now receives E, and the deadweight loss area is D and E.